Thank you, Riva. Good evening, everyone. It is a pleasure to be here. I had a very busy day, but I did get some rest, and so I'm really excited about this evening's presentation. As Riva said, this evening's presentation will be very relevant to many of you here in the UK, and I hope you'll find something that I say this evening to be useful. You see on the screen a heavenly army. Because, in fact, there is an army inside your body, inside my body, who were designed with the ability to combat various germs, bacteria, viruses, fungi on a large scale. And for this, we have a very sophisticated immune system with various types of cells, different chemicals that are coordinated by a general. So just as how an army is organized, just as how the heavenly army is organized, with a general Michael at the head, there is such a system in your body to help you be safe. Now, most, if not all of us, are born with a perfectly functioning immune system that is able to learn and adapt to all the challenges it faces. But unfortunately, because of bad habits, we destroy our immune systems and we end up with multiple diseases. Tonight, I'm going to show you what we've been doing wrong and what we can do to get our immune systems functioning perfectly. But as usual, before I go into tonight's presentation, I must invite you to tomorrow's presentation, which is, for me, one of the more important and exciting presentations. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about the most amazing organ in your body, maybe the most complex machinery on this planet, our brains. Without this, I would not be speaking to you. You would not be hearing me. We would be just like a chair or a light bulb. This organ has been subjected to a lot of injury from our own doing, leading to many diseases. And tomorrow night, you want to learn how to get a perfect, functional brain. Are you excited about tomorrow? Yes, I'm excited. I want to get my brain functioning better and better. So tomorrow night, I'm going to be here. Now, for the question for tonight, this one's a little tricky. I made it very difficult. So which is it's supposed to be number one food associated with autoimmune diseases? Is it flour? Is it milk? Is it sugar? We'll see. We'll see, but sugar is not the right answer. All right. As usual, we're going to stand. And as we repeat this pledge each night, I want you to say the words with intention. These are God's words, and they can change your thoughts, they can change your habits, your behavior, and your character, and indeed your body. Let's go together. It says, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. I am made in the image of God. I was bought with a price. My body is a temple of God. By caring for myself, I daily increase in wisdom, knowledge, and in favor with man and God. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, tonight, your people have gathered in your courts to hear your words, words that will help them to heal, words that help them to be a great witness of your health message. Help that everyone here will be attentive, will learn, but more importantly, will do exactly as your word have commanded. In Jesus' name, amen. Please be seated, everybody. So, as usual, I have another story for you. This one is very memorable. It was even before I started studying functional medicine, I heard about functional medicine through watching a podcast. I saw a doctor talking and he was giving some advice, and I loved what he was saying as a doctor. I've never heard medical explanations quite like that before, and I wanted to understand the body like he did. So I went to look him up and found out who he was and what he did and where he studied. But from his presentation, I picked up a few gems. And would you know that what he was speaking about in that presentation was rheumatoid arthritis? And that same week, I had a patient who came to my office from Canada. She was visiting Jamaica, and her relative suggested she come and see me because I was into natural medicine, but I was never familiar with functional medicine. She came to see me and said, "Doc, I have rheumatoid arthritis. I'm on these medications," and she was on 2 painkillers. Because of the painkillers, she was on a stomach protectant. She was on omeprazole. Because of the side effect of one of her pain medication, she was on a medication to protect her eyes because it started to damage her eyes. So that was 4 medications. She was on a steroid. She was on an immune suppressing drug called methotrexate. And she had started to have pains in her joints, so she was taking an additional pain rub because of the arthritis and so on. So she was on about 6 or 7 medications in total, 2 of which were treating side effects of other medications. And she was still in pain. She was still having difficulty walking. She was still waking up stiff every morning. So she related her symptoms to me, and my treatment plan for her was what I heard that doctor said a few days earlier. So I said, "Listen, I know exactly what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to change your diet. I'm going to take you off these foods." And I took her off all the flour, all the dairy, took her off the sugar, took her off the processed foods. And I asked her to take omega-3 fish oil and vitamin D. And that was it. To my surprise, she called me a week later and said, "Doc, I am having much less pain, and I have already stopped one of my pain medication." 2 weeks later, she said, "Doc, I have stopped all the pain medication, and I am having no pain." 3 months later, she went back to her doctor, and her blood results came back normal, and she was off all but one of her medication. Oh, she was on a blood sugar medication because the steroids gave her diabetes. So she was now off all her medication except her diabetic medication. I never heard from her for a while, maybe a couple of years. About 2 years after, she contacted me and said, "Doc, I'm in Jamaica and I have something for you." She came to my office and said, she had some boxes. She said, "In the time you haven't seen me, I have been completely healed. I was so inspired by what you did. I went and studied naturopathic medicine. I opened my own health food store in Canada. I have my own line of products, and I have brought these products for you to give to your patients." Yes. And she goes between Jamaica and Canada now, selling herbal products online. She's more successful than me. Can you believe it? She gave me in Jamaican dollars maybe $500,000 worth of products free for what I had done for her. So that story is quite memorable, and that was just me with a little bit of knowledge. And subsequent to her, I was able to help many, many persons. Now, her problem was with her immune system. And most of you have a good, well-functioning immune system that consists of 2 parts. We have the protective layer of the skin, which has in it antibodies and cells to protect you, and this is continuous throughout your nasal passage and your gastrointestinal tract. That's your innate immune system. And you also have another part of it called the adaptive immune system, which consists of white blood cells and antibodies and chemicals called cytokines, which can adapt to different germs. These two segments, which you may consider your army and your navy, are able to protect you from all germs. They cure infections. They prevent cancer. Now, this is very important. Every single day in your body, you have what we call cell replication. The cells in your body need to divide to form new cells in your skin. Give me a second. Let me put that on silent. I forgot to put that on silent. And in these multiple replications, your DNA in your cells need to replicate. And if you know anything about DNA replication, it's a process that is fraught with lots of mistakes. And the more stressed you are, the more mistakes you make in DNA replication. The worse your diet, the more mistakes you make. The more deficient you are in vitamins and minerals, the more mistakes you make. And for the day, you may have 1 billion cell replications. And in that, you may have maybe 10,000 mistakes. And your body's immune system has to find each of those mistakes and either correct them or delete them completely. Take those cells out. Because if one mistake is left undetected, that can lead to cancer. And in fact, many of you form cancer cells in your bodies every day. And if it becomes cancer, your immune system still can find that cancer cell and kill it. So when a person gets cancer, what it means is that their immune system missed just one mistake you miss and you form cancer. Your immune system has to be in tip-top shape, to prevent cancer. And for most of us, it does that quite efficiently. Your immune system prevents Alzheimer's. It's something you'll learn about tomorrow. Alzheimer's is caused by a buildup of a waste protein in the brain. Build up because your immune system is not efficient enough to get rid of it, so it builds up. Your immune system gets rid of dead and worn out tissue, and if it can't get rid of them, you age faster. Wrinkles, joint pains, stiffness because of accumulated dead tissue. And there are many parts of the immune system that we still don't know what they do, but we know they have very important functions. Now let's get right into it because I want to give you information that is actionable. This is the title of a book by Dr. Joel Fuhrman, where he talks about how to build a super immune system. And his food recommendations are here. G-bombs. So I sent one presentation in the challenge group. This one will be posted tonight. Greens, beans, onions, mushrooms, berries, and seeds. These are the same foods we've been talking about all week. These are the foods that are going to build a strong immune system. There is nothing that will weaken your immune system faster than inadequate amount of sleep. One night of poor sleep can drop your immune system and lead to you getting a cold or a flu. As I mentioned, every time you eat, your immune system has to go into action to screen the food and look for germs. And so eating too many times per day weakens your immune system, but fasting allows it to retool and be strong. So fasting is a great way that your body uses to build its immune system, which is why when you get sick with a cold or a flu, your appetite goes in order to get your immune system in tip-top shape to fight germs. Recreation, that's a stress reliever, because we know that when you're stressed, your cortisol goes up, and that slows down your white blood cell. We call it the lazy leukocyte syndrome. So the act of coming to church on the Sabbath and having lunch together is a great way to socialize, relax, and build your immune system. So in Adventist circles, we have this very great family atmosphere. When we compare the sickness rates and the length of illness among Adventists compared to other people who don't have the kind of family atmosphere that we have, we find it's far different. In fact, and I'll talk about later on, there are these places across the world, we call them blue zones or longevity hotspots. Have you heard of them? There's one in California called Loma Linda. There's one in Italy, Sardinia. There's Okinawa in Japan. There's Nicoya in Costa Rica. And when we go to these locations and study the lifestyle of these people who live to 100 and over without cancer, heart disease, hypertension, and diabetes, there are a couple of things we notice. One important thing is that they live in close-knit communities where everybody knows everybody else and everybody is concerned and cares for their neighbor. People who are lonely, isolated, they have much more disease burdens and they recover slower. Human connection is important to build a strong and robust immune system. So we're not literally talk about food. So when the program is over, I love what I see. People are outside talking, socializing, having fun. This is part of what will create a strong immune system and create health. Food is just one aspect. Of course, sugar does the same thing that stress does. It weakens and slows down your white blood cells. Gluten is a protein found in grains. Flour being one of the many grains that has gluten. And gluten, as you will learn tonight, is a harmful protein that you can't digest to your immune system. And vitamin D, this needs to be optimum. You need to get your vitamin D levels checked. So when you go back to your GP and for your annual checkup, young or old, ask your doctor to check your vitamin D levels. There's no more important vitamin in your body than this one. And vitamin D functions, as I told you, as a DNA replication controller. It can turn off and turn on genes, especially genes that control your immune system and control cancer. So vitamin D, if it's insufficient, will lead to a weak immune system. And that's one of the main reasons why northern colder countries had so many deaths in COVID. Because most persons in colder countries don't get enough sunlight and don't take supplements. And so if you live in the UK, which I suspect all of you do, you need to be getting sunlight, and in the winter, you need to be taking vitamin D supplement. It is essential for cancer prevention and having just a strong resistance to flu. Now, I did mention that quarter of the deaths in the UK are caused by cardiovascular diseases, hypertension, stroke, heart attacks, and so on. But there is a disease that may not cause as much death, but is far more common and costs your government a lot more to treat than all cardiovascular diseases combined. It's been on the rise for the last 10 years, and they're called autoimmune disease. They are so costly because they are chronic, long-term cause major disability. The number of diseases in this category is now about 150. You've heard of rheumatoid arthritis. You may have heard of multiple sclerosis. You've heard of eczema, psoriasis, asthma, allergies. All of these are immune system diseases where your immune system, rather than protecting you, begins to attack your own body. And the results for anybody who comes down with disease is devastating. Another subtle one that's on the rise is Hashimoto's thyroiditis. In women, it's very common. It presents in the 30s and 40s, and the symptoms you just feel weak, no energy, brain fog, you're not sharp as you once were. You just don't feel well and you're not sure why. Get your thyroid hormone checked. A very high amount of women in North America and in the UK have this disease and don't know, and they underfunction and they get antidepressants. I don't know if they give out antidepressants here as often as they give them out in the US, but many women get antidepressants because their symptoms so much resemble depression, and what they have is an autoimmune disease caused by flour. Oh, I said it. I gave the answer. All right. All right. So auto means self. So an immunity refers to immune system. So when your immune system begins to damage your own body cells, that's called an autoimmune disease. Now, here are a list of a few of them I did mention, so there are many. All of these are diseases where your normal immune system begins to attack your body cells. And unfortunately, the primary treatment is to give you strong medication to suppress your immune system. Now, in the short term, you will improve the symptoms of your condition because you're reducing the attack on your liver and kidney and joints. But your immune system is supposed to prevent infections. So if you suppress it, you'll actually get more infections. Does that make sense? It's supposed to prevent cancer. So if you suppress, you'll likely get more cancer. Does that make sense? And that's exactly what we're seeing. So many diseases that people are getting are actually caused by treatments that we're giving them. For one thing, it causes something else. And it doesn't solve the condition. It doesn't cure or reverse. So if you have eczema and you rub creams on your skin, you're rubbing for 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years. Rheumatoid arthritis, you're taking immune suppressing drugs, you're taking it for 10, 20, 30 years until a side effect of the medication kills you. So there is something inherently wrong with our treatment approach. And more, as the studies are done, we are realizing that more and more doctors are coming on board and realizing that there is a better way. This is a little bit complicated, so don't try to read what's on the screen. I want to show you a couple of things here. And you see wheat prominently featured right here. But over here is something that you should be familiar with. This is your gut lining. This is the bloodstream and the cells that line your gut. And they're tightly packed together. Over here you have a little space between them, which is what we call leaky gut syndrome. Now, this is a picture published by Dr. Alessio Fasano. He's an Italian immunologist that did some research at Cleveland Clinic, Center for Celiac Research Center. And he proposed that for you to get an autoimmune disease or an allergy, you need three things. Three things need to be in place for you to get any autoimmune disease or any allergy. This is very important now. Just pay attention right here. And these three things are genetic predisposition. So if you check back in your family, you will find somebody, maybe your parents or siblings or grandparents, who has one or more autoimmune disease or allergy-related condition. They are all related. It's just the same disease manifesting in different ways. And there is a genetic defect that is passed down to you that gives you the susceptibility, makes it highly likely you'll develop this condition. But getting the genes alone does not mean you must manifest the disease. As we've said, it's often said that genetics load the gun, but your environment pulls the trigger. So you may walk around with a loaded gun, but nobody has to die unless you pull that trigger. So your genetics can be bad, but what you do in your body can determine if you get sick or stay healthy. Are we clear? So you need a genetic predisposition. That's one. The second thing you need is a trigger. And that trigger can be a whole host of things. It could be a food. And the number one trigger food is going to be gluten. It could be any grain. It could be dairy. It could be stress. It could be an infection like COVID. So I was on the phone just now with a patient who had COVID in New Jersey 4 years ago. Young female, 41 years old, and she is now sick with rheumatoid arthritis. She has asthma. She has brain fog. Young female, and she is sick, almost disabled as a result of autoimmune conditions that she suffered from because of an infection. But of course, she found out that I have a little insight on this, and we spoke and we did a program that she's going to start on, and hopefully by the end of this series, I'll give you an update on how she does. But what I did for her is what I'm teaching you tonight. All right? So we are hopeful she will start making some improvements very soon. So you need a trigger, and I said it could be an infection, it could be a food, it could be stress, it could be a deficiency in a disease, in a nutrient that you have. And finally, you will need a leaky gut. So for food triggers, infection triggers, and many of the toxins that you may take in which may trigger it off needs to get from your intestinal lining into your bloodstream. And this is going to happen if you have a leaky gut. So these three things are necessary for you to manifest the autoimmune disease. So we think of this as a stool. So remember this autoimmune triad, this stool. 3 legs for this autoimmune disease stand up are going to be genetics, leaky gut, and environmental triggers. And what do you think will happen if I break one of these legs? Stool will fall. If I break 2 legs, definitely fall. So it's that simple. The approach to autoimmune disease is to identify the points of intervention by removing the triggers, which sometimes are a little more difficult, because if it's a trigger from the environment like pollen, and you have to go outside, then we may have to look more at addressing leaky gut. The genetics, we can't change a lot of, so we tend to focus on fixing the leaky gut, which you learned in presentation number 2. Remember that one? Yes, the 4-hour program. We're going to touch on it again tonight. So we know how to fix this, and we're going to try to identify the triggers and remove them. And when we do those things, then autoimmune disease begins to be reversed. Now, there is a little caveat. Rheumatoid arthritis is, like many other autoimmune diseases, progressive. And as your immune system attacks your joints and your tissues, there is damage and there is scarring. And there is a point beyond which we can't reverse it. So we have a person with arthritis whose joints are deformed and they are fixed and they can't hold a pen. We may not be able to reverse those changes. So if you have or suspect you have an autoimmune disease, getting on treatment early before you have permanent tissue damage is important, because there is a point of no return. So I can't promise that everybody can be cured. But early intervention can save many lives, many joints, many livers, many kidneys, many brains. For our program, for those who didn't learn, this is the fix for your leaky gut. Let me just go back a little bit and show you something here. This part is important. I want to go a little deeper here. Okay, we have time. Inside here is where the food passes, right? And this is where the nutrients are supposed to penetrate through to get into the bloodstream. And inside here are your white blood cells and red blood cells, and the immune system resides in the bloodstream to a great extent. Now, what happens is this. This is one possible explanation. Say you have leaky gut and you eat wheat. Wheat contains gluten. Gluten is not fully digested. You can't digest it. You were never made to digest it. Bits and pieces of gluten usually would flow through your intestine and it will never be absorbed because you're too big. But if you have this scenario, gluten can get through into your bloodstream and it's going to be picked up by your blood circulation and taken all over your body. If it goes into your thyroid, your immune system will say, but wait, this is not supposed to be here. Let me try to get rid of it. Your immune system launches an attack against what it sees as foreign, and it then causes damage to the organ that the gluten is in. And so you get thyroiditis. If that gluten didn't go to the thyroid but went to your joint, then you get arthritis. If it didn't go to the joint but went to your liver, you get an autoimmune hepatitis. It could have gone to your kidneys. And in some diseases, like lupus, it goes to multiple locations. So that's the basis of how you get an autoimmune disease. Your body is attacking something it sees as foreign, and we don't try to figure out what that is. We tend to just say, immune system, stop attacking. It's just, I paint the scenario of you have your nice suburban neighborhood. You're living in comfort, your neighbors getting along, and some criminals move into a house nearby, and they begin to do bad things, and you realize, and you call the police, and the criminals barricade themselves inside and start to shoot at the police. The police is going to probably try to shoot back at them. Even if it's in Jamaica, they're definitely going to shoot back at them. And in Jamaica, the neighbors might get shot, right? And so collateral damage may occur. Would the response be to call up the police command and say, no, leave the guys alone, just let the police go back to their station and leave them be? Is that the solution? No, we don't suppress the police and say, no, we may try different techniques to get these guys out of the community. And the police may need to send in a SWAT team, or do something else, put some tear gas into the house to get them out to surrender. But to call the police off and leave the guys there to wreak havoc is not a great solution. And that's tantamount to what we do when we suppress your immune system. All right, so for our gut healing, we do 4 things. Remove harmful germs which may trigger off autoimmune disease, which is what you're doing in your detox. So if you understand, you see the 14-day flat belly challenge, it's meant to address all of these things that we're talking about. So the detox that you do at the start with the garlic, which if you're planning to miss tomorrow, Pastor, tell them tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. or is it 6:30? We're going to be here for an hour to make some home remedies. One of which is something that is called the Dr. T penicillin. That is going to be used at home to treat your children's colds and flus and allergies and sinus issues. I'm going to teach you in person how to make it. So Ruth is going to get all ingredients. I sent her the list already. We're going to make a natural painkiller tomorrow. That's going to help you to get rid of your arthritis pain and your headaches naturally. So I'm going to make that for you in person. right? So you got to be here tomorrow. I'm going to show you how to use garlic and onion and all of these things. I'm going to teach you how to make antifungal rubs for your children if they have ringworm or whatever fungus on your skin. So you don't have to get a potent antifungal. And these things work. So make sure you're here tomorrow evening at 6:30. At 6, not 6:30, 6. All right? Because we're starting on time and we're not repeating anything. So if you're late, you're going to miss something and it's not going to be recorded because it's upstairs. Are we recording? We're not recording upstairs? No. All right. So you can't miss it. All right. So we remove germs with our detox and remove foods that may cause harm. And with the removal of foods, we have what we call an elimination diet plan. So there is a diet plan where we take out stuff out of a diet that are trigger foods, and the 14-day flat belly challenge is designed to do just that. So you are getting everything, If you join the 14-day challenge, which is free, I'm basically giving you treatment that people pay hundreds of dollars, hundreds of pounds for. So this plan is the basis of the 14-day flat belly challenge. We eliminate foods from your diet that are harmful. So we remove germs, take foods out, we remove toxins by just adding in the good stuff. So if you're drinking smoothies and eating salads and drinking soups, there's no time to go to McDonald's and no time to go to drink sodas and so on because you're drinking water and green juices. So basically we are removing toxins from your diet by putting in good stuff. So all of that is built in. And of course, if you were on this morning, you saw me post a 10-minute Christian meditation, which is something that, as short as it may seem, it is profound. Just 10 minutes a day of deep breathing, relaxation, and calm does a lot over time to release your stress and get your endorphins up and get your stress hormones down. Now, of course, exercise does a lot of that. Now, also, there are foods that will cause inflammation, which will perpetuate your autoimmune disease. We recommend that you take those out. Nightshades are going to be a category of foods these are like bell peppers and Irish potatoes, seed oils, trans fats, sugar, processed foods, gluten, of course, farm-raised foods. These tend to be very high in hormones. Farm-raised animals are fed antibiotics, which will get into the food and kill your good gut bacteria. So did you know most antibiotics used on the planet is not consumed by humans? It's consumed by farm animals because they are bred in very close, confined environments which are not very hygienic. So just like you, they get infections too. They'll get colds and flus too, and they will die. So to prevent the farm animals from dying and the owner suffering loss, they give them tons of antibiotics routinely in the feed. And it's not destroyed by heat. So when you eat the food, you're taking doses of antibiotics that will kill off your gut bacteria. So if you like salmon, make sure it's wild caught. It's better to avoid meats en bloc. So to avoid killing off what is there to help you. You've got to be very careful what we put into our bodies. Yes, I know I'm limiting the amount of foods available to you, but as I do this, I am lengthening your life. So you have to still thank me. Don't hate me, right? Don't throw stones at me. Did you know that eating less is associated with living longer? Oh, you didn't know that. I'm not talking about starvation now. I'm not talking about eating 100 and 200 calories a day. But it has been shown, and we did this, Dr. David Sinclair from Harvard did a couple of bits of research with rats initially that showed that rats whose calories were reduced by 1/3 lived 1/3 longer than rats who were fed the normal diets. Both had sufficient amount of calories, but some just ate a little too extra, which may apply to some of us. So if you reduce your intake, which is why in the challenge we have how many meals a day? So we're doing that in the challenge too. You see so many things in the challenge. I'll tell you a quick story. You see the challenge, it was not something I sat down and thought about deeply and put together over many months. How it happened was this. I was sitting on my sofa one Sabbath evening. I got a call from a friend of mine who lives in Bermuda. She's a nurse. She said, Doc, I'm coming to Jamaica and I want you to give me something to get my tummy down. So I said, okay, I'll put something together for you. And I, on my sofa, thought about it. And like in a flash, the detox and the diet just came in my mind. And when I thought about it, I said, but this is really good. How come I never thought of this before? And the following day, I said, no, man, I'm not going to just give this to her. I'm going to tell it to other people. I went on my phone, did a video, posted it on TikTok, inviting person to join a 14-day challenge, just like that. And within 2 days, there were 1,000 people who responded. And the next day, the challenge started. And in 2 weeks, person was losing 15 pounds. People were saying, boy, I'm paying. That was it. I believe it was an inspiration. I didn't do this. God gave this to me. And as I go through the challenge and I talk to people, and as I research, I realize that this is amazing. How did I come up with this? It covers so many bases. So I don't want to take all the credit because, in fact, I did not sit and do any research. I just got just the ingredients in the detox just came to me. It's input that. And now it's all over the world. Yes. So this, I believe, is a God-inspired program. To make your gut healthier and to put back the bacteria that will fix your leaky gut, you need to be taking in probiotic foods, and I didn't mention these before. And so we're kind of going over the same things over and over again. As I mentioned to you, it's not 10 different diets for 10 different diseases. We're going to fix your inflammation, clean up your diet, fix your immune system by giving you healthy foods, taking out the bad foods, exercising, calming your mind, deep breathing, relaxation. That's it. So you're going to hear the same thing over and over again. But I think repetition is good. These are the foods that will build your immune system. Oh, I forgot to put my dinner that I did today on screen. I cooked today, Ruth. Yes, I went shopping and I cooked today. I cooked curry with beans and I did a salad with lots of different colors and I did some plant-based yogurt with fruits and so on. 3 different things. I'll put it up tomorrow so you see what I cooked this evening. I wish you all could be in my room to have some of it. Good healthy fats are going to be building your immune system. So talking about coconut oil, olive, chia seeds, nuts and so on, nut butters. So when you have these things in your diet, you do not get hungry. You keep these colors, especially the reds and oranges and yellows, reduce inflammation and build your immune system. We're still talking about the 4-hour program. So that's the diet, supplements that you need if you have an autoimmune condition or allergy. It's going to be number 1 is going to be vitamin D. It's great to have vitamin K2 with your vitamin D. This ensures that when you absorb calcium, it goes straight into where it's needed, into the tissues and organs, rather than depositing itself in your arteries and cause calcification. So vitamin D should be taken with K2. Now, vitamin D is very important for allergies and autoimmune disease. Research has shown that the single most effective treatment for eczema is having sufficient vitamin D. Low vitamin D has a strong association with eczema. And I can tell you, and I will not forget, the most severe case of eczema I've ever seen are kids coming to my office in Jamaica from the UK. I've not seen eczemas as severe as I've seen from here. So I have lots of Jamaicans going back home, and and they find my office, and these kids are covered from head to toe in scales, and they itch, and I've never seen it. And when we get them on vitamin D, change the diet up, you start to see literally magic happen. So that's number one. Check your vitamin D levels if you have any allergies, eczemas, autoimmune disease, and make sure that you're in the 50 to 70 range for vitamin D. You need to be up there. All right? You can't take too much, but I've never seen it. Probiotics, I've put that on screen before, and you need to be taking, for kids, maybe 20 billion or more, adults, 50 to 100 billion of multi-strain probiotics. Curcumin is what is found in turmeric. It's the active ingredient. I love to cook, so I use lots of curry. So I brought my own curry from Jamaica here. I don't know if not the right one. So I brought my Indian curry. So when I'm leaving, I'm going to donate what's left to Ruth. All right, Ruth? You'll get my Indian curry. Ruth has been my angel since I've been here. So anybody wants some of the curry, now I've got to start with my angel too, all right? You want curry? All right, be nice to me. So I got my curry. And L-glutamine is a very important supplement, and I recommend the brand Ancient Nutrition. And there are other brands too. Quercetin is found in onions, so you don't need to go and buy quercetin tablets. You need to make sure that you have onions in your diet. And tomorrow, I'll show you how to use onions to treat asthma and allergies. Yes. How to use it to treat immune system issues. I'm going to show you how to make onion tea and use onion on the skin. All right? So I'm going to need some volunteers tomorrow, all right? So come prepared to volunteer for me to show you how to use these things to build your immune system. And of course, fasting. So we do intermittent fasting, 1 meal a day, and occasionally water fast. There is no more effective strategy for treating allergies, autoimmune disease than fasting. And as I promised you before, I promise you again, you will not die. If your allergies and autoimmune disease is caused by food, which most times it is, just stop eating, let inflammation settle down, and then adding back the good stuff one by one, and your allergies will stay away. The less complex your food intake, the better for you if you have allergies. Now, with allergies, you can be allergic to anything. I've seen people allergic to pineapple, well, not water. Unless something is in the water. So that's probably the only thing you won't be allergic to. But almost anything can trigger allergy once you have a leaky gut. Once it's getting into your bloodstream undigested, it can trigger an allergy. So when you have an allergy, there's nothing wrong with the food. There's nothing wrong with the orange. Nothing really wrong with the nuts. It's something wrong with your gut. So do you have skin issues? Check your gut. Do you have acne? Check your gut. Treat the gut, and outwardly you will manifest health. So the answer to the question is, of course, it's flour. But milk comes a close second for autoimmune disease. You know, there are so many stories I could give you of kids who I have been able to get rid of their eczemas, get rid of their allergies, get rid of their allergic rhinitis, sinusitis, constantly having a cold and flu, by taking dairy out of the diet and replacing it with coconut milk or almond milk or cashew milk. These are suitable alternatives. I can tell you something. My son, who is now 12, when he was 3, he was not speaking. And I entertained the possibility that he might have autism. And we're on the verge of, getting him to be assessed. Because, parents be hoping and watching and waiting, not wanting to put that label on him. And then something dawned on me that, but he's always sick with a runny nose and a cold. And I said, maybe it's the fact that all he eats is his bottle. He wanted a bottle every day up until he was 3, and I replaced the dairy with coconut milk 9 years ago. And in 2 weeks, that boy was talking. The problem was that the dairy was causing mucus production, clogging up his ear passages and he couldn't hear. So he couldn't speak. So once we released, I decided hearing, boom, the boy started talk. And he's a chatterbox now. You cannot get him to shut up. All right? So part of your allergies and immune system problems is stress. This is a big trigger. So we're talking about food, talking about germs, we're talking about all these things, but stress is a big trigger for autoimmune disease. And so if you're doing the right diet and you're taking the probiotics and you're seeing your immune system still not functioning well, are you managing your stress? Are you working too many hours? Are you in a relationship that's causing your MS? Statistics show that 57% of marriages end in divorce. But that's not the full story. Of the 43% that's left still together, more than half of them just stay together just because they have kids, because they have assets together, because they've just been together so long and can't bother to go find another partner. They just stay together just because. And of all the marriages, maybe less than 15% are truly happy. So if you're married, make sure that you make it work. You make it happy. I heard a post today that marriage isn't about self-actualization and about making sure that you're a self-thinker. Marriage is about making sure that your partner is happy. And if you take that approach, I find the partner who gets that love most often time will return it. So stop sitting there waiting on them to start doing what you want them to do. Do what you know you should do. That's how God treated us. Paul tells us that it's the goodness of God that leads us to repentance. So it was God who loved us first, and in response to his overwhelming love, we start to love him. We didn't love him first. So in a marriage, maybe one way to approach it is to just pour love on your partner, even if they're obnoxious and nasty, and hopefully one day they'll come around, because God, you did not get married to get divorced. And it's better to divorce than to stay unhappy because you're going to get sick and get cancer. Does that make sense? So make it work, make it happen, because Ellen White says, your life, your happiness, your salvation will be dependent upon who you choose to marry more than any other decision you will make in your life. It's a very important decision. But if you already made a decision, it's gone bad already. So try to fix it. It done gone bad already. So young people, listen carefully. Choose carefully, because you may get lupus because of who you choose to marry. We're out of time. Sleeping is important. We're going to talk about sleep in another presentation. And of course, getting yourself pampered, using essential oils. These will calm your nervous system down and help to relax your body to have your immune system function at an optimal rate. Family time, just pamper yourself to make sure that you are in tip-top shape. The Bible says, iron sharpeneth iron. So a man sharpeneth the countenance of his friend. Just emphasize what I said at the start. That you can help prevent your church brethren and your friends from getting sick. You can help to make them sick. You can make your partner sick, and you can make your partner well. And if your partner gets sick, it's going to cost you time and money. So it's incumbent on you. You see, the marriage thing, if your partner gets sick, they're not going to dead so quick, You see, if maybe you're saying, I'm going to die fast and you get to inherit the thing. No, they're going to sick for long. They're going to take up all of the resources. All the money is going to be finished. You're going to be left poor. So make it work. And finally, this is very important. I'm leaving you with this very important wisdom from Apostle Paul. It says, not forsaking the assembly of together as believers, as some are in the habit. Well, I'm trying to quote the King James Version, which is not on the screen. This is Amplified Version. Not forsaking or neglecting to assemble together as believers, as is the habit of some people, but admonishing, warning, urging, and encouraging one another, and all the more faithfully as you see the day approaching. Dr. Dean Ornish, world-renowned cardiologist, who put together the Ornish program to reverse heart disease, prostate cancer, breast cancer without medication or drugs or surgery, has a 4-pronged approach. The last of which is to have the participants in this program meet once a week on the weekend, sit down, have a good time, and talk. And in the evaluation of the program, we found that that component may be the most important component. It's more important than the diet and the supplements. Being together, having great human connection is a healing in itself that money can't buy, but it's more valuable than what anything money could buy. So do not neglect this. This is good. This is important. Keep it going, and see you tomorrow.